something in you may already know that today is different. On August 18th, the North Node leaves Pisces. And if you've spent the last 2 years telling yourself you were staying open, trusting the timing, not forcing anything, you may be about to find out that some of that was true and some of it was hiding. Here's the contradiction nobody talks about. You think staying soft kept you safe, but softness without shape doesn't protect you. It just makes you easy to pour into any container life hands you. Something small may happen today, a question you can't dodge anymore, a decision that's been pending for months, suddenly demanding an answer. And how you respond to that one small moment may tell you which of the next 2 years you're about to live. There are 2 kinds of people reading this right now, and the difference between them isn't intelligence or luck or even effort. It's whether they know the difference between waiting and avoiding. The first group has spent 2 years genuinely surrendering, releasing their grip on outcomes, letting life redirect them, staying spiritually loose instead of rigid. They may not have realized it, but they were preparing. Somewhere underneath the "I'm just going with the flow," a decision has been quietly forming, and today it may finally be ready to speak. The second group has been doing something that looks identical from the outside, but feels completely different on the inside. They've been avoiding every time a real choice showed up. A relationship that needed defining, a career move that needed committing to, a boundary that needed stating out loud. They called it trusting the universe and let the moment pass instead. They may have started using spiritual language as a way to never risk being wrong. Both groups have been floating. Only one of them was floating on purpose. The North Node leaving Pisces doesn't punish either group. It simply stops asking permission. It starts asking for shape. Those who are quietly preparing may feel something click into place almost immediately. Those who are quietly avoiding may feel for the first time in 2 years that the ground is no longer optional. One group is about to find their form. The other is about to find out they never really let go. They just never chose. If this hits a nerve, it's not because something is wrong with you. It's because somewhere along the way, you learned that not choosing felt safer than choosing wrong. Think about it like wet clay sitting on a wheel. Clay in its wet state can become anything: a bowl, a vase, a cup, nothing at all. That's its gift, but it's also temporary by design. Wet clay was never meant to sit on the wheel forever, spinning gently, avoiding the kiln. At some point, it has to be shaped and fired, or it just stays wet, formless, technically full of potential, but never actually anything. For the last 2 years, Pisces asked you to be that wet clay, to stay unformed on purpose, to not rush the shape. And for a lot of people, that was genuinely healing. Maybe you came out of a season of forcing everything, gripping too tight, needing to control every outcome, and the invitation to simply not know yet felt like relief after years of exhausting certainty. But here's what nobody tells you about wet clay. The longer it sits ungiven a shape, the more it starts to dry out unevenly, crack in places, lose the very moldability that made it valuable in the first place. Staying formless past its season doesn't preserve your potential, it slowly wastes it. Maybe you learned this pattern young, in a home where picking a side meant picking a fight, so silence felt safer than an opinion. Maybe a past relationship punished you for wanting something specific, so you learned to want everything and nothing at once, keeping your real desires vague enough that they could never be used against you. Maybe you simply watched someone you love commit hard to the wrong thing, and you promised yourself You'd never be that certain about anything ever again. None of that makes you broken. It makes you someone who built a very intelligent form of self-protection. You just built it for a season that's now ending. The clay was never wrong to stay soft. It was only ever wrong to stay soft forever. Softness that never becomes a shape isn't openness. It's a bowl that never got to hold anything. You may already be noticing this shift in the people around you before you notice it in yourself. That's usually how it works. The people who can't tolerate your vagueness anymore may start showing up loud and unmistakable. Maybe it's the partner who finally says, gently or not so gently, "I need to know what this is." Not because they're impatient with you, because 2 years of "let's just see where it goes" has quietly become its own kind of answer, and they're tired of pretending it isn't. Maybe it's the boss or client who stops accepting "I'm still figuring it out" as a professional posture and starts needing an actual decision, a real yes or no, a date on the calendar. Maybe it's a friend or family member who used to admire how easygoing you were, and now says something closer to, "I never know what you actually want." Here's the reframe. None of this is the world getting impatient with you. It's the world reflecting back to you exactly what you've been reflecting to it. Formlessness. People weren't confused by you because you were too deep for them to understand. They were confused because you genuinely hadn't decided yet, and they could feel it even when you couldn't admit it. This may sting at first. It may even feel like rejection, like people are suddenly asking more of you than they used to, like the ease is gone. But watch closely, because something else is happening underneath it. The relationships and situations that can't survive your becoming specific are the ones that were only ever built on you staying undefined. And the ones that were real, actually real, won't collapse when you finally say what you mean. They'll relax. Some people have been waiting years for you to just say it. This isn't the world closing doors on you. It's the world finally being honest about which doors were ever really open. The people who needed you shapeless were never loving you. They were leaning on your indecision to avoid their own. Here's what this may feel like from the inside, and if no one has named it for you yet, let this be the moment someone finally does. It might feel like standing in a doorway that won't let you stand there anymore. Not pushed forward, not pulled back, just suddenly aware that the doorway was never a room. You could always see both sides from there. The old life and the new one, the safe answer and the true one, the comfortable maybe and the terrifying yes. And for 2 years, that view felt like wisdom. Seeing both sides felt like depth. But a doorway isn't built to live in. It's built to walk through. And you may be noticing, almost for the first time, that standing in it too long doesn't feel expansive anymore. It feels like your feet have started to ache. You might feel a strange grief that doesn't attach to anything specific. Not sadness about a person, or a job, or a place. Just a low hum of loss, like something is ending even though nothing dramatic has actually happened yet. That's real. You're grieving the version of you who got to stay undecided. She's not being punished. She's just no longer needed the way she used to be. You might also feel a flicker of panic the moment you consider actually choosing something. A job, a person, a belief, a direction, because choosing makes it real, and real things can be lost, judged, or wrong. Staying in the doorway meant nothing could ever technically fail because nothing had technically started. Here's the reframe. That ache in your feet, that unnamed grief, that flicker of panic, none of it means you're doing this wrong. It means you're finally standing close enough to the threshold to feel its edges. You cannot feel a doorway's edges from the middle of a room you've fully committed to. You can only feel them from right where you are. almost through, not yet landed. This discomfort isn't a warning sign, it's proximity. You are not lost in the doorway. You are simply finally close enough to walk through it. The ache of almost choosing isn't weakness. It's what standing 3 inches from your own life feels like. And now, it's time for today's comment of the day. Someone wrote, "Thank you, universe. I'm aligning my new chapter. Opportunity of job with wealth, love, and relationship. I feel the universe's plan. Thank you, universe." I love this one, and I want to gently point at something inside it that connects directly to today. Notice the energy here isn't passive. It's not, "I hope something happens to me." It's gratitude spoken like it's already moving, already aligning, already becoming shape. That's exactly the posture this North Node shift is asking all of us to practice. Not waiting for wealth, love, or opportunity to arrive and prove themselves first, but naming them, claiming them, giving them a shape in your words before they're even fully visible in your life. That's not delusion. That's what taking form actually sounds like out loud. When you say, "I'm aligning my new chapter," instead of, "I hope things align eventually," you've already done the hardest part. You've stopped floating and started declaring. Keep talking like this. Keep thanking the universe like the plan is already unfolding, because from everything today's energy is pointing to, it very well may be. Thank you for sharing this. So what does this actually look like in your real, ordinary life over the next few days? Not the poetic version, the Tuesday afternoon version. Watch for a question that keeps circling back. Not a new question, an old one you've dodged in some form for months, maybe years. It might show up as a text you keep drafting and deleting, a conversation you keep almost starting, a form you keep almost filling out. The North Node leaving Pisces doesn't usually announce itself with fireworks. It shows up disguised as that one nagging thing you've labeled not urgent for way too long. Watch too for a moment where someone asks you a simple question and you notice yourself reaching for your old, practiced non-answer, "I don't really mind. Whatever works. I'm easy either way." When the truth is, you do mind, you're not easy, and you know exactly what you'd prefer. That gap, right there, between the automatic non-answer and the real one sitting just behind it, is the exact spot this whole shift is asking you to close. And watch for a pull towards something oddly specific. Not a vague desire, but a sharp, particular one. Not, "I want more abundance, but I want that exact role." Not, "I want love someday, but I want a relationship that looks like this, not that." Specificity may feel almost uncomfortable right now, like it's too bold, too narrow, too risky to say out loud. That discomfort is the tell. That's the shape trying to arrive. Here's the practical move. The next time you catch yourself about to give the vague, safe, agreeable answer, pause for 3 seconds and ask, "What do I actually want here?" You don't have to announce it. You don't have to act on it instantly. You just have to let yourself privately know it, maybe for the first time in 2 years. Think of it like tuning an old radio. For a long time, you left it on static on purpose. Static felt neutral, unoffending, safe. But somewhere in that static, one exact frequency has been waiting the whole time. You don't need to force it. You just need to stop being afraid to turn the dial and let it land. You don't need a bigger sign. You need to stop mistaking your own vague answer for a peaceful one. Here's the layer most people will miss completely, and it's the one worth slowing down for. You might assume the test today is simply choose something, anything, and you'll pass. That's not quite it. The real trap isn't staying formless. You already know that one. The real trap is choosing a shape that isn't actually yours, just to finally feel solid. Grabbing the nearest decision, the nearest relationship status, the nearest job title, the nearest identity, not because it's true, but because any shape feels better than none after 2 years of drifting. This is where it gets subtle. A person exhausted by their own indecision may rush toward the first firm thing that offers them relief, saying yes to a relationship that isn't quite right, just to stop being asked, "So are you two together or not?" Taking a job that pays well but means nothing, just to stop explaining why they're still figuring things out. Adopting someone else's opinion wholesale, wearing it like a borrowed coat, just to finally have an opinion instead of none. That's not commitment. That's relief mistaken for alignment, and it usually cracks within months. Here's the hidden truth. This shift isn't asking you to choose fast. It's asking you to choose true. Those are not the same instruction, even though they can feel identical when you're desperate to stop floating. Think of it like finally getting off a boat after a long time at sea. Your legs still rock, even though the ground beneath you is perfectly still. That wobble isn't the ground's fault. It's not a sign you picked the wrong shore. It's just what solid ground feels like to a body that forgot what stillness was. Don't mistake that wobble for a wrong decision and dive back into the water because land felt unfamiliar. The deepest test today isn't will you choose, it's will you wait the extra breath it takes to choose the shape that's actually yours. Even if a false, faster shape is standing right there, offering instant relief. Speed will make you feel found. Truth is the only thing that will actually let you stay. So here's what's actually waiting for you on the other side of this, if you let yourself walk all the way through instead of turning back at the threshold. Imagine, a few months from now, someone asking you what you want, and instead of that old automatic, "I don't mind," you hear yourself answer instantly, specifically, without flinching. Imagine the strange calm of a decision that's already made, sitting quietly behind you instead of endlessly ahead of you, taking up space in your mind. Imagine loving someone and being able to say so plainly, without wrapping it in 12 disclaimers so it can't be used against you later. Here's the reframe underneath all of it, the one this entire message has been walking toward. You were always afraid that choosing would trap you. That's the lie the last 2 years let you believe, because staying formless felt like staying free. But an unshaped life isn't freedom. It's just undefended. A river without banks doesn't become more powerful for having no edges. It just spreads thin, shallow, easy to wade through, easy to ignore, going nowhere in particular. The banks aren't the river's cage. They're what make it deep enough to actually carry something. What you feared was the trap was actually always the depth. Picture your parent, years from now, finally seeing you stand fully in a decision instead of hovering near one, not because you convinced them, but because for once you weren't asking permission. Picture a partner who finally exhales because you stopped speaking in maybes. Picture yourself alone in a quiet room, telling yourself the truth about what you want without immediately negotiating it down to something smaller and safer. That specific, defined, banked version of you was never the risk. She was always the destination. You didn't lose your freedom the day you chose. You finally found out what freedom was actually for. Shapeless was never safety. It was just a longer way of disappearing. If you've stayed with me until this point, thank you for giving this message your time and attention. As the North Node leaves Pisces on August 18th, the invitation isn't to abandon everything soft and open that you've become over these 2 years. It's to finally let that softness take a shape, so it can hold something instead of just floating around it. You may still feel that doorway under your feet right now, 1 foot in the old formlessness, 1 foot reaching towards something more defined. That's all right. You don't have to run through it. You just have to stop pretending you can live there forever. If there's one thing I hope you carry with you after this, it's this. Surrender was never meant to be your whole identity. It was meant to be the season that prepared you to finally choose with your eyes open instead of your eyes closed. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.